Yes, it's happening on this channel, how to make vegan lasagna. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the Vegan Petite channel. My name is Linda, and yes, I am so excited to share this vegan lasagna recipe with you today. Lasagna is one of those dishes that my grandma and I used to always make together anytime I would visit her in the summertime on the East Coast, or she would visit us. Well, she and my grandpa would visit us for the holidays. We would always make this dish together. So traditionally, as you know, lasagna is made with layers and layers of pasta noodles, usually some kind of meat sauce and a whole bunch of cheese, but we are going to veganize it today and it's gonna be amazing. So for starters, for our meat sauce, instead of using ground meat, we are going to be using Beyond Meat, which is this amazing plant-based meat substitute that has the same texture, smell, taste of ground meat. If you don't have access to that, don't worry though. You can use something else like tempeh or mushrooms or cooked lentils or just extra veggies, whatever kind of veggies you like, and it will be amazing. Next, for all you cheese lovers out there, I know you think you're gonna miss the cheese, but don't worry, we are making two awesome vegan cheese replacements for this recipe. The first is gonna be a tofu ricotta. So this is gonna take the place of your traditional ricotta cheese or cottage cheese, which is what my grandma used to always use. And secondly, we are gonna be making a cashew cream sauce. Now this is optional, but I recommend it. The cashew cream sauce is basically gonna mimic that melty, cheesy texture. If usually you use a bunch of mozzarella cheese and it's melty, or some people use bechamel sauce in their lasagna. So this is gonna kind of be the replacement for that element of it. So you've got your fluffy tofu ricotta and then your creamy cashew sauce. It's gonna be kind of melty. And then of course our Beyond Meat Bolognese with lots of veggies in there too. So I'm so excited to share this with you. If you're as big of a lasagna fan as I am, then hit the like button below and consider subscribing to my channel. I share new videos every Sunday, but for now, let's get into this amazing vegan lasagna recipe. Let's go. Start by sauteing some finely diced onion with some vegetable broth or water, and also add in some diced carrot and celery. Next, add some chopped mushrooms for added meaty flavor and saute those as well. It's important to season at every stage, so go ahead and add some salt and pepper at this step. And I also had some leftover green bell pepper that I just diced up and threw in there as well. If the pan gets dry and the vegetables start to stick, you can deglaze the pan with vegetable broth or water as you go along. Make a little well in the middle of your vegetables and add some minced or freshly pressed garlic into the middle and a little splash of water or vegetable broth, and just let that cook for a few moments until it smells like garlic, and then you can stir it in with the rest of the veggies. Now add your Beyond Meat patties. I am using 2 patties here. They are frozen, so we are going to cover the pan and let them defrost for a bit in the pan before we continue cooking. After a couple of minutes, you can flip the patties over and they should be soft enough that you can start to mash up the Beyond Meat. You can see that it really does have that ground meat kind of texture. I know for some vegans, even this kind of grosses them out, but hey, if it's made of plants, I don't really care. And I think it's a good thing to be serving to people who aren't necessarily familiar with vegan cooking. It just opens their minds. So crumble up those patties as small as you can so you don't have any huge chunks of Beyond Meat in there, and then we're gonna season this. All right, to deglaze, that is my last bit of vegetable broth, and I'm just gonna add an extra splash of water to make sure that it gets saucy enough. I'm adding some tomato paste. I started out with just half a can, but as you'll see, I ended up using the whole can of tomato paste to make it really saucy. I'm also seasoning this with some smoked paprika for that smoky, meaty flavor, as well as some dry basil, oregano, salt and pepper, sage, and thyme. Stir in the tomato paste and all the seasonings. And now it's time to add some pureed fire roasted tomatoes. I used a large 28-ounce can of whole fire roasted tomatoes. If you can find the crushed variety, then you can use that. But since I had whole tomatoes, I went ahead and blended them to a semi-chunky consistency. And of course, I am adding more of all the seasonings because now that we added our tomato elements, we want to make sure that the flavor really punches through. It's got to penetrate through all those noodles and the cheese replacements later on. So we really want this to be well seasoned. Don't be scared to put lots of herbs and flavorful things in there. Stir it up and let it simmer, and your bolognese sauce is done. Next, for the tofu ricotta, I am using a block of firm tofu. I started by crushing it with a fork, but I ended up just crushing it with my hands because it was easier. And then I am seasoning it with some salt and pepper, as well as the juice from half of a lemon. This is gonna help give it some tang and balance all the flavors. And then I'm also adding some dry basil as well. Some garlic powder, and nutritional yeast. This is gonna help to give it that cheesy flavor. I'm also adding a little bit of ground nutmeg. This is something that my grandma used to always add in her lasagna recipes, so I'm just adding a little bit of that. For the cashew cream sauce, I just used some raw cashews that I boiled for a few minutes to soften, and I'm putting that in the blender with pretty much the same seasonings as the ricotta. I'm just using the juice from the other half of the lemon, some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and nutritional yeast, so very similar. And we're just gonna blend that up until it becomes a really nice creamy consistency, along with some water. And here's how our cashew cream sauce looks when it's done. Now it's time to assemble our lasagna. This is the fun part. So you're gonna take a couple of spoonfuls of the bolognese sauce and cover the bottom of your glass baking dish. I'm using a 10 by 14 dish here. You can use 9 by 13, just whatever you have available. And you are going to start to layer your lasagna noodles. These are no-boil lasagna noodles, which means you don't have to cook them ahead of time, so that's going to save you some time and effort. I did have to break one of the lasagna noodles to fit at the very end there, but it's all good. Just arrange it as best as you can. Now on top of the noodles, layer in about a third of the remaining bolognese sauce and just try to spread it out as evenly as you can. As you can see, mine ended up being quite chunky, but it works out. Next, I added a layer of the tofu ricotta, and I'm also adding some of that cashew cream sauce. This is really gonna make for a decadent, creamy, almost cheesy-like layer in between our bolognese and pasta noodles. Go ahead and use a spatula to spread that evenly so you get some cheesy, creamy, melty goodness in every bite. Now we just repeat all the layers. Pasta noodles, bolognese, tofu ricotta, cashew cream, and do it again. Very important, because we are using no-boil lasagna noodles, we want to add some water to our dish to make sure that the noodles get cooked through and are soft. So my package said to use half a cup of water per 5 dry noodles, and since there were 14 noodles, I just added 1.5 cups of water all around the dish, and you're going to cover it tightly with aluminum foil. Bake your lasagna in a 375-degree oven for about 45 minutes, then remove the foil and bake it for another 10 minutes to let the top get browned. Here is the finished lasagna fresh out of the oven. It smells amazing, and if you want to, you can top it with some fresh basil leaves just to add a pop of color. I took this lasagna to my aunt's house for a family gathering, so it was enjoyed by vegans and non-vegans alike. And as messy as this looks and as bad as the lighting is, it was delicious. It really replicates that cheesiness and meatiness from the Beyond Meat, and it just reminds you of lasagna. I mean, who does not love lasagna, really? Yeah, it looks messy, but it was seriously so good. You have to try it. And there you have it, how to make vegan lasagna. I'm sorry that I couldn't get a better beauty shot of the final slice. I took it with me to a Christmas party, and so, you know, I just kind of had to make do with the styrofoam plate and the weird lighting and my messy cutting abilities on the go. But anyways, comment below what other Italian recipes do you want to see veganized on this channel. I'm a big fan of Italian food, so let me know what your requests might be. I can't believe that 2019 is coming to an end, which is marking not just the end of the year, but also the end of the decade. And it is just amazing to reflect on everything that has happened this past decade. I've been doing a journaling exercise called A Decade in Review by Marie Forleo, so I'll put a link down below if you want to check it out. I think it's a really good idea to just kind of reflect on everything that's happened and what your goals are and what you want to build for your future. We don't always take the time to do that because I know we all have really busy lives, but I think it's important to take some time for yourself and think about what it is that you're trying to create. One of the things I'm excited about in the coming decade is building this channel and a community around people who are really passionate about amazing, delicious food and cooking, but also doing it in a way that respects our animal friends on this planet and is lighter on the environment and of course better for our health as well. Ever since I went vegan in 2015, that just kind of took my love for cooking to a whole nother level because it forced me to get creative and discover new alternatives, you know, like how to make vegan cheese replacements or vegan meat sauces, and you can still enjoy all of the amazing comfort foods that you grew up with and that you have memories with, but just in a vegan version. And I think that making new traditions around food and bringing people together around that is like what really lights me up. So if you're on the same page as me and you're excited to see more vegan recipes, then please consider hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. I share new videos every Sunday, and I'm so looking forward to the new year and coming up with more amazing recipes for you. Thank you so much for your time and for being here, and have a happy new year. I hope you have a happy, healthy, prosperous, joy-filled, love-filled, laughter-filled new year and new decade. And let me know what is something that you are excited about this year. All right, I think this has been long enough. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in 2020. Bye! I do apologize for the weird lighting in this video. I was filming on a partly cloudy day, so it gets kind of dark and light in some spots, but it should will still work. I share new videos every Wednesday.